What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Breaking and Entering Podcast. Happy Friday. Brandon, how you doing today, man?
Doing good, man. I'm rolling with the Eagles this year with my boy Kenny Pickett.
Oh boy. Speaking
Just like
of everybody, this episode we'll be talking about some free agency moves. We're gonna be, mostly talking about our teams, my Commanders, Brandon's, I guess Eagles now, and
yep.
Ravens too. But yeah, let's get this show going on the road, shall we?
All right, let's start with the opening drive. A third man has been charged with second-degree murder in connection to the deadly shooting of the at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. The Lions they parted ways with cornerback Cortland Sutton, and he's wanted by police for domestic violence case in Florida. Last time I checked, he hadn't turned himself in or anything. NFL owners they're considering a new rule to ban the hip drop tackle. That's where defenders grab runners with both hands and it traps their legs as they're going to the ground. Um, if approved, it would lead to a 15-yard penalty.
Before we get going, I kind of want to talk about that hip drop rule. My thoughts are, I don't know. I mean, I understand it is a dangerous play, but at the same time, a lot of the time, it's the only way they can make a tackle. Like, imagine
Yeah.
a cornerback trying to make an open field tackle on somebody like Derrick Henry.
Hmm.
Um, they got to do what they got to do to get the guys to the ground. A lot of times, you try to wrap up their legs. These guys are so strong and powerful. You got to do what you can. So, I mean, I get it from a player safety standpoint, viewpoint, especially when it's like a quarterback getting hit. But at the same time,
Yep.
it's like you kind of put in one hand, you find the defender's back. So I don't know how I feel about that rule. It might be, it might change some things. I think defenders are still going to do it if they have to. So they might just have to eat that penalty in order to avoid like giving up a super big play. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of agree. It's like it's almost getting to the point where you can't even tackle. Like, how soon are we going to end up playing two-hand touch? Honestly, on defense,
Right.
because like you said, you got a corner trying to hit a big running back, or a big tight end. You got Kelsey and those guys out there. You got to get them down. So it's like, how else can you get them down? It's just unfortunately the cookie crumbles to where those type of injuries happen. But again, what are we leading to, honestly? And it's something I saw a couple days ago where points per game was down over the last 2 years overall. So
Mm.
it's kind of like the NFL owners are trying to switch more to making, getting back to the high scoring as it was years back. Um, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Like you said, they probably just some guys in the heat of the moment. It's like you can't honestly change it sometimes. So like you said, they probably will just have to eat that penalty. It'll suck, obviously, for our teams or anybody else obviously as a fan, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get to the Commanders off season. I looked up. I didn't realize y'all had so many transactions. Obviously, we always hear about the big ones with everybody's team, and it was a whole list of transactions y'all had. Some guys that y'all bought in under the new regime there with Dan Quinn and company. How do you feel about the off season since basically the end of the season to now?
To be honest with you, just the way that the season went last year and how it ended and how pathetic and terrible they were, I'm not too excited about anything right now. I need to see how the draft looks because the biggest thing right now is what we're going to do with this quarterback position. But some of the moves, I will agree, some of the moves that we made, like signing the linebackers Frankie Lou over from the Panthers and making a little splash, bringing over Bobby Wagner too. I do like those moves because I mentioned it last year. The linebacker play last year was terrible, man. As soon as the ball will hike, it was like these clowns. I mean, these dudes would just disappear like that. Like I'm talking about, as soon as the ball was like, I swear to God, they must have ran off the field because I did not see too much linebacker play. So hopefully, guys like Jamin Davis, Bobby Wagner coming in, Frankie Louvu coming in, that kind of rubs off on him. He starts to play a little better. And then, of course, some of the coaching changes. Dan Quinn's the head coach now, coming over from the Cowboys as the DC. So hopefully he can reignite this defense. I just there's so many things I remember, like Emmanuel Forbes getting torched by the Eagles. I remember specifically a play where AJ Brown scored a touchdown on him, and he had Emmanuel Forbes on the ground looking sad, and then AJ Brown put the ball in his lap. I think he got caught with a penalty for that. I was like, oh my god, this is so pathetic. So on that side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, I like those moves we made. Uh, when Dan Quinn came over, he brought the center Tyler Biotish with him, and that's another thing that was awful. Sam Howell was sacked about just as many times as anyone. I think he had the most sacks in the league. So hopefully, Tyler Biotish. I believe we signed some other guys, guard Nick Allegretti, over as well. Hopefully that line play improves. But like I said, man, I'm still waiting to see what we're gonna do with the draft. I do like the addition of Austin Eckler as well. Unfortunately, we lost Antonio Gibson to the Patriots, but I think Austin Eckler, even though he's a little up there in age as far as a running back, I think he is an upgrade over Antonio Gibson. I think him and D Rob should be a nice 1-2 punch. Austin Eckler, hopefully, you can stay healthy and make some things happen. But like I said, I go back to the quarterback. What are we going to do? For my opinion, it looks like the Bears are going to probably take Caleb Williams. I was hoping we get him. I don't know too much about the other prospects, Jaden Daniels and Drake May. So I don't know. I'm not really too excited about the bunch. But it's looking like it's going to be between those two. Maybe they try to make some trade happen, but I don't see that happening. But I will say this is a little different with this new regime. Usually we make a big splash. I know back in the day you used to clown me, talk about guys like Adam Archuleta. What's the big dude's name? The big D tackle had wore the cowboy hat. You know what I'm talking about. But we signed him to Albert Hainsworth. We signed him to like the largest contract in history, and that didn't work out. I mean, so Deion Sanders, we signed him like when he was like 55 years old, and I mean, I remember he did return a punt or a kickoff for a touchdown once, but yeah, it didn't seem like we made these mistakes so far yet, so we'll see. But yeah, I do these moves we make. I mean, Marcus Mariota, I doubt he's going to be the starting quarterback by the time the season starts, but he's a capable backup. I think somebody who's injured, we make moves. And there's some good veterans I see. We signed Anthony Pittman, the linebacker, and Dante Fowler, just to help more with bolstering up that D line since we lost, Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So, man, I want to see what it looks like in the draft, and then I'll have more opinion from there. I will say I do like the our coaching staff a little bit better too. Just doing a little research on the coaching staff from last year and how in depth they were. We got Anthony Lynn in crew as well. He's going to be the run game coordinator. Hopefully, we run the ball more. I thought, Eric B&E would have us running the ball, but it looked like he was more focused on getting Sam Howell and the air attack going, but it didn't turn out too well. But yeah, man, what do you think about our all-season moves?
Yeah, I don't think it's been a bad off season from a personnel standpoint. I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around the whole Dan Quinn hire from the Cowboys. We spoke about that in our last show. But as far as free agency goes, adding Austin Eckler, I think he's a guy that reminds me of Gus Edwards from a stat standpoint, and he's big in the red zone, getting the ball across the line for the touchdowns. The Mariota addition, compared to trading away Hal, I don't think it makes much sense to me. But like you said, he's not going to be a guy that's going to be your starter for a couple years. You know what I'm saying? It's probably just a body in the room in a sense. But y'all did get back compensation for Sam Howell, obviously, for the trade. I think both those guys are pretty much on the even playing field. Besides, Mariota's a little bit more mobile than Sam Howell was. But like you said, bringing in Bobby Wagner and Dante Fowler, I think those two pickups will be quite beneficial. They've played under Dan Quinn, both of those guys, so they know how he likes to do things. They know his system, all that type of stuff. Um, Bobby Wagner has been one of the best linebackers in the league since he came in low key out there in Seattle, and when he went to can't remember where he went to in between
Rams.
the Rams. Yeah, okay, and But yeah, veteran leader back there on that seven. Like I mentioned, the past couple years, honestly, I've been talking about it. How the front four for you all was going to be lights out. Obviously, we know y'all had all four first round picks on that defensive line before y'all traded away Young and Sweat last year, but that back seven was a liability. And we saw that even more this past season. So hopefully that'll help those two additions there. I know Dante Fowler is more of a defensive lineman than a linebacker, but it could possibly help out in those terms. But I'll also be watching the kicking situation for y'all. I didn't know this until I was doing some research early this week. Was this Joseph Sly, or what is his first name? Is his first name Joseph? But
Yeah, we got
Sly's
Brandon McManus now.
yeah, Sly's gone and Brandon McManus is there. He's made 81% of his field goals in his career. I think he was like 81, right in that range last year as well. I know they said that Sly had a big leg, but he did miss a lot of kicks though, from what I understand. I think he was pretty good from
Yeah, he did.
40 yards plus. But yeah. So yeah, overall I don't think it was a bad off season for y'all. Like you said, y'all didn't overspend. I think they said y'all had a decent amount of money in the bank. But
Yeah, we were
so
number
that's
one or number two, and I think we still got a decent amount of cap space left. So, I mean,
that's good.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do too much like the old, like you mentioned before, those Adam Archuleta signings and those Albert Hainsworth signings that didn't pan out. You get a guy like Austin Eckler at a low, um, not too much money, and the other guys, you know, so it's not too much of a financial burden if they don't work out. So I think it's a pretty good off season for y'all overall.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about the Ravens off-season moves next. But before we do that, this episode is brought to you by Premium, a CBD health and wellness company. Check out their line of CBD-infused products, which are a perfect after-workout refuel for athletes, a pain reliever for weekend warriors, and even a natural sports drink for us armchair quarterbacks. Their featured product is CBD-infused honey, which is a personal favorite of mine, as well as tinctures and mint and natural flavors. They are veteran and woman owned, so come get some of the sweet temptation and taste the premium difference. Use code B&E for 15% off your order. Their website is premium.com, PREHEMIUM.com. Again, PREHEMIUM.com. And now let's get back to our show. Brandon, I want to see how you feel about these off-season moves. I was really curious to see how you felt about that. We were talking about, Derrick Henry signing. I want to get your thoughts on that, but just overall, how you feel about your off-season moves.
Yeah, I feel like we lost the whole damn team, honestly. Every time I turn around, somebody was signing with somebody else. But it's kind of the nature of the business when you win a lot of games. Um, it just really did hit us this year. A lot of guys left. Some of the losses that I remember off the top of the head early this week when I was putting this stuff together. Tyler Huntley went to the Browns. I'm gonna miss him. I really did like him behind Lamar Jackson, young
Yeah,
guy. Mobile reminds me of a young LJ. Morgan Moses, we traded him away to the Jets. John Simpson went over there with him as well. Our left guard, Kevin Zeitler, he went to the Lions. So that right there is three starters on the offensive line gone. I did kind of say earlier in the offseason that I felt like Tyler Lindenbaum and Stanley was going to be the only ones left. I wasn't too sure about Stanley, but I think the contract is so massive that they gave him, they would have taken a major hit if they released him. But I'm not too sure that they want to keep him around much longer, honestly. I think it's just a financial thing right now that they're keeping him around for. Um, Not saying that he's not one of the best left tackles in football when he's healthy, but we all know he's missed a lot of time. Devin Duvernay, he went to the Jaguars. Gus Edwards to the Chargers. They had that Greg Roman connection. It kind of made sense for him going over there. Odell Beckham Jr. is a free agent. Obviously, it's not looking like he's coming back. Geno Stone went to the Bengals. Patrick Queen went to the Steelers. Um, as you mentioned, the Derrick Henry signing. That was one of only two notable transactions that we had besides Josh Jones, who just signed either yesterday or the day before. He played for the Texans last year. He was drafted in 2020. Um, yeah, so a lot of losses. Obviously, if we're on a teeter totter, we're highly unbalanced right now. But overall, I think looking over the next couple months, obviously I'm looking at the run game. I wasn't too fond of signing Derrick Henry. No disrespect to him overall, but I just feel like we can plug guys into our running back in our run system, kind of like the Eagles, and have success. It's been like that for years. It's no matter who's been the offensive coordinator or anything like that. From what I understand, we're talking with Michael Gallup and Josh Reynolds. I think they both were in Baltimore today. Um, I don't know too much about Michael Gallup. I know he missed some time with Dallas. Um, and Josh Reynolds, I think he was pretty productive for the Lions. I think the offensive line will be fine. A lot of those guys, I think that'll end up starting, or when come September, I think when we look at our offensive line, a lot of the guys are already on the roster from last season. Obviously, Stanley will be starting at left tackle. Um, Ben Cleveland, we drafted him a couple years ago. He'll probably take over left guard. Of course, Lindenbaum is at center. He'll be going in his third year. I think it'll be Patrick McCarry at right guard, and then Daniel Falei at right tackle. He's a big guy there. He kind of reminds me of Jonathan Ogden on the left side. He could play both sides though. And honestly, I think we need to go back and sign Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know what's taking so long with that right there. This guy kind of like turned his career around, and we haven't signed him yet. I think we kind of tend to do that with veteran pass rushers when we get them. Houston, when we had him a couple years ago, we waited until damn near August to sign him again. So hopefully they'll get that done before somebody else snags him. But in Baltimore, we have a saying that every time throughout the offseason, in Ozzy we trust. Of course, Ozzy's not the GM anymore. So it's been with Eric DeCosta we trust. We have 9 draft picks. That's where we make our bread and butter at. We're a great drafting team. I think us, New England, and the Steelers are three of the best. But yeah, obviously a lot of losses. I do have also, I wasn't too happy about the Geno Stone going to the Bengals. I don't know if he's going to be a starter out there. I just don't like the Bengals more than the Steelers. But I do like that. Was it Patrick Queen and Gus Edwards? Those are two guys that I saw for sure that they put um, thank you notes to the Ravens fans on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And I wasn't too upset about Patrick Queen going to the Steelers, more so because we know that he really wasn't a factor overall until Roquan came, and
Mm,
Roquan boosted him up. Like he can thank Roquan for that contract, honestly, because he was good in the run game, but he was a liability in the pass game, covering tight ends, running backs out the backfield. Um, yeah, Patrick Queen was definitely a liability, but I do kind of have some uh animosity against him right now because apparently, I guess in his press conference, he was like, after he put out the whole tweet, thank you tweet, he was like, "I'm looking ready to do some stuff to them," talking about our team, obviously.
mm,
So, yeah, we looking to do some stuff to you too. Mark Andrews, uh, Isaiah Likely, the third tight end Cover, all y'all just go across the middle on PQ and make sure you expose his ass again in those 2 games that we'll play them. So yeah, um, I think we'll recover in the draft. Obviously, offensive line will probably add some depth there. I wouldn't be surprised if we go there at pick number 30 in the first round. Eric DeCosta, please stay put. It'll be the end of the draft. I'll be up all night. I don't want to be up until the end of the first round waiting just to hear that the Ravens trade the 30th pick when we're on the damn clock. It never fails. He tends to do that in that late 20s round, man. It drives me crazy. It always works out, but as a fan standpoint, where you're just like, you just want to see your team, who we're going to draft in the first round, you're hoping it's a skill position player for the most part because you want somebody flashy. You want somebody that's going to win offensive, defensive rookie of the year, and then they trade back. Uh, Eric DeCosta, please stay put. We got 9 picks. We don't need to accumulate any other picks. There's no reason to go back, in my opinion. Um, Pass rusher will also be up there, and I think we need a second corner as well. I know we signed back Arthur Millette. He was pretty solid for us last year, but I don't think he's necessarily a starter. I don't think he's a one or two. Obviously, Marlon Humphrey's number one, but yeah, I know we lost Ronald Darby too. I can't remember. I think he can't remember where he went to, but yeah, another guy that left. So yeah, what do you think about our off season?
Um, we were going back and forth about the Derrick Henry thing. I know how you feel about it, but honestly, you sent me that Ryan Clark clip as well. He talking about it, how
Yeah,
the run game isn't a problem. It's basically Lamar Jackson was the issue, but I do think Derrick Henry coming in there, veteran presence, a name. He's gonna command respect and he's gonna give respect, but I think he's gonna boost just the overall play of the offense, not just from the run game, but I think he could be utilized in the passing game as well. I kind of felt the same way about Gus Edwards, how you guys could have used him on a passing game, but I think that might be something that y'all can look to do with Derrick Henry. Just pass to him in the flat, let him get going out there. But like you said, man, I do think y'all do really good in the drafts. Y'all really nailed the Kyle Hamilton pick. He looks like he's going to be on his way to a Hall of Fame career from the way he's playing, barring any injuries and setbacks there. I saw that you signed the quarterback Giles Johnson. I think this is like his 18th
yeah,
year in the league, his 18th team in the league also. But that's another good veteran presence to have in the QB room. Hopefully, you can give some gems to Lamar Jackson, improve his game. But honestly, I just think it goes back to Lamar Jackson and how he's going to play. Um, like you said, I think you guys need to improve or get some more depth on the offensive line. Just make sure they can protect Lamar, make sure that running game stays good. And I do want to see what y'all going to do at the wide receiver position. Doesn't look like Odell's coming back, like you said.
yeah.
They got him for a June 1st release. That's when they're going to get rid of him.
Mhm.
And I want to see what they're going to do to backfill that position. I know your guy who came in there last year had a pretty good rookie season. His name escapes me at
Zay
the moment.
Flowers.
Yeah, Zay Flowers. He did have a really bad game, in my opinion. So I'm hopefully he'll bounce back from that. You still got Rashad Bateman in the queue, but like you said, he did lose Devin Duvernay. So I want to see if y'all gonna either pick somebody up in free agency or y'all gonna go after somebody in the draft. But I do think another wide receiver would do y'all well. And the tight end position, I think likely he's gonna keep coming into his own. Mark Andrews is out. He kind of filled in pretty well. I think he'll, keep playing well. He's got Mark Andrews back now, so y'all can use those two, not just as pass blockers, but as guys who are dual threats, kind of like how it was back in the day with the Patriots. Aaron Hernandez or Gronkowski were doing things on the field sometimes. Maybe y'all can duplicate that or imitate that a little bit. But like you said, I think you guys will have a better picture after the draft. And yeah, like you said, I usually do really good in the draft. So I want to see how y'all look at the draft, and then I'll definitely have a better opinion on y'all. But I think y'all gonna nail it as usual, in my opinion. Hopefully, we can do the same. But us, this number two, we got to get it right. This quarterback, man. So
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but yeah, I think y'all. I think so far y'all didn't do too much. You did lose a lot of pieces, like you said. I think we're gonna talk about a little bit more. Just talk about free agency, but you mentioned a good point in our text out. It seems like there's a lot of interdivision moves. Patrick Queen to the Steelers, Geno Stone to the the Bengals, even
Calvin
just
Taylor.
all over the league. We got
Yep.
Dolphins player Jordan Poyer from the Bills. He's with the
Oh yeah.
Dolphins now. So a lot of things going on in this league. But yeah, interesting stuff going on.
Yeah, real quick, I forgot to mention the three guys I think will miss the most. Obviously, Gus Edwards and his touchdown ability. I touched on that earlier. Hopefully, Derrick Henry can continue his success in the red zone as well when he comes there. Devin Duvernay, he's like a Swiss Army knife. I was very vocal over the last couple of years, especially not this past season, but the season before, that I wanted him to focus on. I wanted the coaching staff to have him focus on special teams because he was a great returner back there. And they were starting to play him more on offense, and I think his production kind of went down on special teams. But we'll definitely miss him. We missed him when he went out on injury last year. And then Tyler Huntley, again, he's one of my favorite players that we've had, favorite backup quarterbacks for sure. Came in and played Honestly, in my opinion, solid. A lot of people didn't like it from the outside looking in when he came in for LJ, but I think he played pretty solid for a backup quarterback when we did have him. All right, free agency. I've been thinking about this off season has been probably the craziest since the year that Devontae Adams got traded from Green Bay to the Raiders
Mhm.
and Von Miller signed that massive contract with the Bills. That was a really crazy off season as well. I think that was 2 years ago. Um, you mentioned at the end of the Ravens talk how a lot of these guys are signing with their division rivals. I feel like it's been an off season of backstabbing, honestly, to the fans. You know what I'm saying? I understand they're going to get their bag, they're going to get their money and stuff, but where's the loyalty at? For real, for real. Like we as fans come to see our guys that we draft um, stick around and be loyal to us. You know what I'm saying? But I again, I do understand they got to get their bag. It's a business. We only see the outside looking in, all that kind of stuff. But it does kind of like, man, the amount of people that have gone from one team to the same division this year has been an all-time high, at least in my experience for sure. Um, I was looking at the quarterbacks. Adam Schefter, he posted a couple days ago. I think it was last in the last week. The quarterback carousel. Jimmy Garoppolo, he's going to the Rams. Kenny Pickett to the Eagles, like I mentioned earlier. Sam Howell to the Seahawks. Desmond Ritter, Cardinals. Joe Flacco's going to the Colts. Gardner Minshew with the Raiders. Jacoby Brissett up in New England, he'll be. Sam Darnold, he's with the Vikings now. Drew Lock with the Giants. Kirk Cousins, that was the big headliner, signed into massive another guaranteed contract with the Falcons. Baker Mayfield, he's staying put in Tampa Bay. I think it was a 3-year deal. Of course, Russell Wilson, I was clowning on you about that, asking was you going to ride with the Steelers Nation. He'll be in Pittsburgh. He definitely going to get hit in this division for sure. Marcus Mariota with the Commanders. Tyrod Taylor with the Jets. I do like that one there.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph, as you call him, Helmet Boy. He's going to the Titans. And Mitch Trubisky, he's going back to the Buffalo Bills where he played at before he came to the Steelers. And those were just some of the ones before this week here. I don't think it's been um, any other massive quarterback signings since then. Sticking on the quarterback thing, I also have noticed how we haven't had a big extension yet. Like I know Trevor Lawrence, and I'm going to touch on him in this whole Jaguars situation, their quarterback room. That's a very important topic I'm going to talk about later. Um, he's due up for a contract. Um, right down there in Florida as well, Tua Tagovailoa. He's due for a contract, and nobody has signed an extension at this point. It's kind of interesting how none of these teams have extended their young quarterbacks yet. I can't think of. I feel like it's one or two more right there in that range that are due up for.
I want to
But
say Dak Prescott.
Dak, yeah, I think they was trying to rework his deal, right?
Yeah.
More
No,
so.
I think they did. I think they did rework it.
Okay,
It says
got
on
you.
his face. I'll have to
Okay.
look that up.
Speaking of Dallas, that's my next point. Um, it's kind of interesting how both Tony Pollard and Alexander Madison they're no longer with their teams. I know that Cowboys fans were dying to get Tony Pollard on the field a couple years ago. He got his shot last year. The production wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be. Same with Alexander Madison. When they got rid of Dalvin Cook there, now both of those guys are going to new teams. Tony Pollard, I think he's going to replace Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and I can't remember where Madison's going, but I know he signed somewhere else. Saquon going to the Eagles, man. I like it, but again, I mentioned off earlier when I was talking about our run game. The Eagles are a team that do kind of that running back by committee. I remember last year we saw DeAndre Swift and he'd get over 100 yards, and then next week they're starting Gainwell or they're starting the other guy. I know his last name started with a B. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'll be interested to see how productive he is there for the Eagles, and will they continue to do that same running back by committee type thing out there. I'm gonna pray for Keenan Allen. He's going to the Bears. I know they're talking about drafting Caleb Williams likely at number one, but he's been had consistent quarterback play all his career. You think about him and Mike Williams, they've done it at a high level for all these many years. Of course, Mike Williams, he went back. Mike Evans, excuse me, he went back to Tampa Bay. Keenan Allen's now again with Chicago. We'll see how it works out. I hope he could still eat out there, but you coming in with a rookie quarterback. He's not a. I think Justin Herbert had a stronger arm than Caleb Williams did. I think it's going to be a little bit more growing pains for Caleb Williams as well if he goes to Chicago, and plus the offensive line is not that strong. So hopefully it works out there for Keenan Williams. I do like Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay. He's a solid replacement for Aaron Jones. I think that'll help Jordan Love as well, getting another good running back out there. Minnesota, what's going on, y'all? If I'm a Vikings fan, I'm like, what are y'all doing? You send away Kirk Cousins. We've all joked about how terrible he is in prime time, but he puts up stats. Justin Jefferson automatically seemed like every time he stepped on the field with especially with Kirk Cousins at quarterback, he had 11 catches, 150 some yards or more, and a touchdown. Like it seemed like it was automatic. And
I
part of
know
that
he
is Kirk
depressed right
Cousins.
now.
What's that?
I said I know he depressed right now, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Yeah, because he probably don't know who the hell going to be playing quarterback out there right now. So, and then you trade away one of your top defenders too, Daniil Hunter, or you let him walk in free agency. He's now with the Houston Texans. I feel like O'Connell was a little bit on the hot seat last year, but I think it definitely hasn't gotten any cooler with those two transactions right there. Hopefully, again, Justin Jefferson can continue to do his thing out there. And then they also had the rookie who was kind of had a pretty good season as well. I think it was Jordan Addison. I think was the one out there, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Yeah. Um, Speaking of Kirk Cousins, I'm not sure how it's going to work in Atlanta. I feel like the Falcons are kind of just like putting a band-aid on the quarterback situation from an overall standpoint. I know Kirk's a little bit up in age. He's coming off that injury. That's something we all talk about when it's a situation like that. Again, Kirk puts up stats and stuff, but um, I don't know. I think they honestly would have been better drafting the quarterback. And that's not saying that it's all solid quarterbacks that are likely going to be in the first round, but I think Atlanta was at that stage in that you got a new head coach. Generally, you want to draft a new quarterback at that time. So, best of luck to Kirk Cousins. I think again from a stat standpoint, they're going to put up a lot of stats. I don't know about the amount of wins that they'll put up. They certainly do have some playmakers down there. You always talk about the tight end Pitts,
yeah.
um, and then
John, John
who's the young
Robinson,
receiver?
Drake London,
Yeah, Bajan, and then
Drake
of course I
London.
can. Thank you. I'm all off right now. But yeah, we'll see how it goes down there. Sticking in the AFC South. Tampa Bay, I think they have some holes to fill in their defense. They lost Shaq Barrett, Devin White, and Carlton Davis.
Hmm.
Um, Three guys that have been around for a while. Shaq Barrett and Devin White, I never thought I'd see them leave from down there. But it kind of happens. But they, from an offensive standpoint, they did keep their main pieces around that kept them moving last year. Obviously, Baker and Mike Evans. So hopefully, the offense will make up for any deficiencies the defense will have as of now. Um, Hats off to the Jets. They made some improvements on paper to that offensive line. They bring in the Cowboy Tyron Smith, uh, Morgan Moses returns to New York. That's where he was before he came to Baltimore. And then they signed our left guard, like I mentioned earlier, John Simpson. So hopefully Aaron Rodgers will have some better protection back there. Cincinnati, they kind of shocked me letting Joe Mixon go. Um, I
Good
think he'll
pickup.
be a great pickup for the Texans. I'm going there next. Yep. And then Pittsburgh, I think it'll be interesting to watch them from their quarterback situation. There's some memes on Facebook where they had two clowns like fighting each other, and there's like
You got to see that.
this. I should have took a screenshot. I think I deleted it because I was gonna send it to you, but I didn't know you was kind of sensitive about that about that Russell Wilson thing. I wasn't sure if I should send it or not, but I'll see if I still got it. It's it'd be interesting to watch this Pittsburgh situation. I mean, everybody's saying that Russ is gonna be the starter. I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Fields ends up starting. Honestly, I like Russ and everything. I think he's the better quarterback, but uh, I don't know. I just got this feeling that Justin Fields might end up being the starter come day one. Houston Texans. You mentioned Joe Mixon, great pickup there. Exactly the words I'm thinking. Daniil Hunter. I mentioned he came over from the Vikings. You add him to Will Anderson. They was talking about in my picks league, talking about uh Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns up in New York with the Giants. They was talking about how good they're going to be, and then the next day, I think it was, Daniil Hunter ended up signing with the Texans, and I'm like, no, they're going to be the best duo out of these two. I guess you could say free agency
Mm,
um, situations that these new pickups that happened. I think Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with down there. And then the Jaguars, I really think they'll miss Calvin Ridley. Um, I thought for sure he was going to come back, but then I saw a couple days before they signed Gabe Davis over from the Bills. Ridley was catching everything there for a while for Jacksonville last year, and coming off of what, a year suspension, and I think a little bit longer he was off the field than that,
yeah.
with injuries as well. I hope Ridley does well in Tennessee, but I hope the team doesn't continue to lose Tennessee. And main point of all, save the best for last. The rich just keep getting richer. I told you that when you
I
asked
was
me
about to
about the
ask you.
whole Hollywood Brown going to Kansas City. They signed another receiver. I can't think off the top of my head. I feel like it was somebody from the Chargers, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be off. I feel like Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelsey and those guys. Chris Jones now, he signed a massive contract. I think it's the highest paid defensive tackle ever. Those guys probably were sitting back watching all those transactions I just mentioned, and probably some that you're going to mention, and probably just like, oh well. And like, really, like, they won back to back Super Bowls. They won the first one a couple years ago in a year where they traded away Tyreek Hill, and everybody was like, well, who they going to throw to? Obviously besides Travis Kelsey. And then last year, I was kind of concerned a little bit with the loss of Eric Bieniemy, and they came back again, won the Super Bowl again. So yeah, Hollywood Brown, he drops a lot of passes. He's coming off 2 down years compared to his last year in Baltimore, but I think it'll work out good. That's a home run threat. It'll kind of remind them of Tyreek Hill. And then you had Rice emerging at the end of last year. We know Kelsey's not going anywhere. You still got Pacheco. Of course, you got the magician there at quarterback. Um, you bring back again Chris Jones. You got Karlaftis still out there. You got Reed at safety. The Chiefs again. They're probably just sitting there like, and for real, like, is this the best y'all got? Probably asking 31 teams. I mean, y'all couldn't do better than this for real. So yeah, I do like the fact again that they re-signed Chris Jones. As far as if I'm a Chiefs fan, I really like that because it was some ramblings thinking that he wasn't going to come back last offseason, and he did. Um, so yeah, to get him back for sure, definitely holds down that defense. And then again, as long as you got Mahomes and Reed and Kelsey on offense, it's just going to be um, we know what they're going to do. So yeah, how do you feel about the offseason as far as the league goes?
Yeah, I agree with you. I want to start with the Kirk Cousins thing. I was kind of shocked by when that transaction happened because I remember hearing rumors about how Justin Fields was a potential trade candidate going to the Falcons. And I thought that would be a good landing spot for him, but they chose Kirk Cousins instead. Like you said, he puts up good stats, but when it matters most, in my opinion, he always seems to disappear or they just don't win. So I'm sure he'll put up good stats. Another thing I'm concerned about that is he's coming off an Achilles. So is he going to be able to? And it happened late in the season. It wasn't like Aaron Rodgers was the first game. So is he going to be ready to play by the time the season starts, or they're going to need him? There's somebody else going to have to come in at first to step in and take over until he gets ready to heal. Another move that I was shocked by when I first saw the Saquon Barkley news, I was like, oh my God. Like you said, division rival going to over to another division opponent. I showed you, we both were talking about how Tiki Barber was saying, you're dead to me. Saquon Barkley responded and said, you've always been a hater and stuff like that. So, but I think that move just really improved the Eagles. The Eagles, they signed some other people. They got CJ Gardner Johnson back there. For whatever reason, their secondary, their defenses fell apart towards the end of the season. Maybe CJ Gardner Johnson
Yeah.
will come over and bolster that secondary again. I want to go back to the Bears too. They got the safety Kevin Byard. They signed him away from the Eagles. He didn't really have much of an impact as I thought he would when the Eagles traded for him, but maybe a whole all-season training camp with the Bears. he'll be right in line with getting that Bears defense back on track. And then I do like the move of Keenan Allen. They got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. He's a number one receiver. They got Keenan Allen now. Now they got like a 1A, 1D wide receiver room going on. Cole Kmet, he's a underrated tight end in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they also picked up DeAndre Swift as their running back. So they got some weapons. If they do draft Caleb Williams, he'll have some nice targets to throw to. It's all going to depend on him and how he plays. I don't know if he'll have the success that CJ Stroud had with the Texans, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had that type of impact coming in and how they're expecting him to be. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears shocked some people and made some moves in that NFC North. The Vikings, like you said, Justin Jefferson, he's probably in a depression right now, just wondering who's going to be the quarterback. I know they signed Sam Darnold. I see ghosts, but is he going to be the day one starter? I don't know. Will they try to make a move in the draft? Maybe. I think that's what I would try to do if I were doing. Maybe JJ McCarthy. Maybe I hear his name's coming up a lot in these draft combines now. I think Michigan go blue, by the way. I think Michigan had their pro day today. If I'm not mistaken, if it wasn't today, it was yesterday. But I hear he's a name that's been impressing folks. I know Harbaugh's been beating the drum about him as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was a first day quarterback as somebody the Vikings go after. Like you said, Aaron Jones going away to the Vikings and then Josh Jacobs going over to the Packers. I think the Packers are probably going to be – I like the Lions, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers are number one in this division now. Jordan Love, he showed me a lot that last season. They went to Cowboys and beat the stuffing out of them, which was a shock to me. So I got the Packers right now in a very favorable position. I like the moves they made. Who else are we talking about? I think the Bengals got a really good shot right now in the AFC. They made some moves on that offensive line. They signed Trent Brown. So I think the offensive line is going to be a little bit better than it was. Just, Joe Burrow, he's got to stay healthy. Last year was a wrist injury that took him out. It wasn't like a lower leg injury. So hopefully he's all healthy and the offensive line will be able to protect him. I want to see what they're going to do with the running back position now that Joe Mixon is gone. But they still got I think they still have T. Higgins, if I'm not mistaken. I think they are going to either try to draft a wide receiver to replace him. If they don't have him, let me check real quick. I want to say they still do have him, though. They are in the AFC. Yeah. The T. Higgins, yeah, he's on a franchise tag, so they'll still have him. They signed Mike Gesicki, too. They got a bunch of tight ends. But like I said, that offensive line signing Trent Brown. They also re-signed Cody Ford, their guard. So I like the Bengals a little bit more right now. I think they'll, challenge the Chiefs. Especially if they meet in the playoffs, I think that'll be a good game, and it won't just be, the Chiefs are a favorite. But another team I'm looking at, the Chargers. What are they gonna do with wide receivers? Mike Williams is gone. He's over at the Jets, as you mentioned. Keenan Allen, like we both said, is with the Bears. I think it was a guy you said you predicted Quentin Johnson was going to be the offensive rookie of the year, because I think he's their only, I don't want to say only wide receiver, that's that's probably the number one guy. They did sign tight end Hayden Hurst. He dealt with injuries the last couple of years, but when he plays, I think he's really good, especially pair him with Justin Herbert. I think he'll elevate his game more. He just has to stay healthy. I know last year he missed like the last part of the season due to concussion. So hopefully his head's good now and everything like that. But I'm interested to see how the Chargers going to look. I mean, Austin Eckler's gone. So they're going to have to do some things in the draft. I think they're going to have to work on the offensive line. I know Harbaugh, he's like a old school type of guy. You saw with Michigan, he built up the offensive line and the defensive line, and they were basically kind of what led Michigan to that title, protecting the quarterback and getting after the quarterback, being able to run the ball. So I think the Chargers are going to go like offensive line, and then you probably go after running back. Of course, they got to get a wide receiver too. But yeah, man, just the divisional moves, like you mentioned. I agree a little bit with you. Like, damn, where's the loyalty lab? At the same time, I do feel like the players want to be loyal, but like you said, it's a business. And okay, you want to. I think a lot of players feel scorned, or you want to get rid of me, or you don't want to give me what I think I'm worth. Okay, I'm gonna go over to the rival, and when I play you, I'm gonna play like a damn all pro, and y'all gonna definitely miss me. So when you guys play the Steelers and when you guys play the Browns, I want to see how it's gonna look. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to the Browns. They got my guy Jameis Winston. They also got Tyler Huntley, and they still got DTR Dorian Thompson Robinson, or if I said that name right, and of
Yep.
course Deshaun Watson. So they got all black. I thought that's pretty cool from my perspective. So shout out to the Browns for that. Trying to think, what was the most shocking move for me? Probably to Justin Fields to the Steelers and Russell Wilson to the Steelers. Russell Wilson, he's on a 1 year like vet minimum deal. He's still got to get a boatload of money from the Broncos, so that's good for the Steelers. And then that trade the Steelers got for Justin Fields, and Kenny Pickett was like, "Oh man, y'all did this. I don't want to be here no more." Okay, we ship your ass to the Eagles. I wonder how that's going to work out. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Hurts, if he plays bad or whatever, it's the rumbling for Kenny Pickett to start. I'm about put his ass in, please, because I don't did you see something from him last year when he was playing? I didn't
Oh,
really see much.
of course he had a
Speaking of
decent game against us, but besides that, no.
Speaking of the Steelers, Deontay Johnson, he's gone now. He's with the Panthers. So they got a true number one now. Last year they had Adam Thielen, who kind of had like a resurrection with his career. But other than that, the Panthers were bad. So the Panthers, they need to make some moves. They got Deontay Johnson. I think they also boasted the offensive line, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember the exact names they picked up, but hopefully the Panthers on the rise. Hopefully Bryce Young is able to do some more things. I thought he would be a little bit better than he was, but they stunk. They were almost as bad as the Commanders. I do think the Panthers had a better record, but the Commanders just stunk. I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers beat them whenever they play. But yeah, that Steelers, Russ Wilson, I do think Russ is going to start. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Mike Thomas said you're going to be the starter for us.
He
So
did.
only way Justin Fields gets in the game is if Russ gets injured. I mean, of course he could play bad, but I feel like Mike Tomlin and that offense, they'll be okay. I do want to see how that offense is going to look without Deontay Johnson. George Pickens did come in. He came in and balled out a few games. Then was it Mitch Trubisky or was it Mason Rudolph? One of them.
Rudolph played well.
Yeah, Rudolph, when he threw the ball downfield to George Pickens, he looked like a true number one. So I'm sure he'll
Yep.
be just fine. But who's going to be the other guy to step up for the Steelers? That's my interest to see. I knew that they do have a good tight end out there too, but maybe Najee Harris will have a resurrection. I'm definitely not drafting him in fantasy football. I'm done with him. I think I drafted him the last 2 years, and he didn't do shit for me. So I'm sure this next year, or Russell Wilson, Justin Fields in there, he's probably going to go for like 1,500 yards. You know, say something?
Yeah, real quick, I think my most interesting or shocking move, I have one coming up in our Bonehead off-season move, but now that you mention it, I'm going to stick in the Keystone State, and I'm going to go to Howie Roseman. I'm going to go as far back as last off-season. You got rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You bring in DeAndre Swift. Obviously two different positions. Flash forward to this offseason, you bring back C.J. Gardner-Johnson, and you let DeAndre Swift go, and you get Saquon from the Giants. Now, obviously, Saquon's been productive last couple of years. DeAndre Swift, I liked him there with the Eagles. I think he was productive, but you spent all that compensation on bringing him in. Again, you let C.J. Gardner Johnson go just to bring him back this offseason here. And their
Yeah.
defense, their back four has struggled, especially against the Cowboys, that game in Philly. Like they almost lost that game because they let Dallas go straight down the field, but then Dallas choked like they always do. Um, they did a playoff
Right.
choke in the regular season and they lost that game. But yeah, my most
Yeah.
shocking. interesting move was the whole Howie Roseman's latest transactions over the last year has just been very interesting. A guy that's been very productive, I think, as a GM, and he's really shocked me lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if some Philly fans are kind of like have their eye on him too.
Yeah, seriously. And then the Titans. You talked about Calvin Ridley. They got Calvin Ridley. D Hop is still there, if I'm not mistaken. I want to see how Tony Pollard looks, but Will Levis is definitely going to have some veteran receivers who can make some plays happen when they need to. So I think that AFC South, the Texans, they came out of nowhere. CJ Stroud shocked everyone. I think the AFC South might be a bloodbath this year.
Yeah,
Who
Richardson
knows
will
what?
be back too.
Sorry, what you said?
I said Richardson will be back too if he could stay healthy.
Yeah,
Anthony
if he can
Richardson,
stay
yeah,
healthy. And then the Jaguars. We'll see what Trevor Lawrence does, but he seems to be all right. The Colts. Who knows? It was so weird. Fluco came in with the Browns and did what he did, led them to the playoffs and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of does the same thing if Richardson gets hurt or whatever
yeah,
happens there. But I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Fluco. I know his name's Flacco, but I say Fluco just because the shit he can pull off. But yeah, what you got, man?
yeah, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because Minshew played good when he came in for Richardson, so it's not like that roster was bad over there in
Yeah,
Indianapolis. Like, so yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that whole Joe Flacco going in there, or as you call him, Fluco. If Richardson gets injured again, pretty sure. I mean, because they kept a lot of pieces from. I don't remember hearing too many key players leaving their team. So yeah, they should be good. There's one more Oh, nobody wants Zach Wilson. Uh, the Jets let him seek trade, and nobody's traded for him yet. I was surprised. I thought for sure somebody was going to be dumb enough to trade for him, and nobody has yet. But of course, we still got the draft, so it's going to be. I think the draft's going to be just as crazy as far as transactions go as free agency has been.
yeah. Maybe the Vikings would pick him up in the draft, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. I'm trying
Oh
to
boy.
think. Was there another? I said Saquon Barkley. Uh, you talked about Keys Brown. I think that's going to be good. And Alexander Madison, he went to the Raiders. So I
Oh,
think
okay.
that would be
Yeah.
a nice running back by committee for them. Amir Abdullah is still with
Yeah.
the team as well. But yeah, we'll see. Gus Edwards, I think that's going to be sneaky good for the Chargers. I think
Yeah.
Harbaugh is going to utilize
Oh
him
yeah.
well. Like I said, Hayden Hurst
Greg
signed
Roman
with them
too.
too. Hopefully he can stay healthy and ball out for them. Cowboys didn't really do too much. The Giants, like you said, I don't know, man. I know you talk about the Texans with Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, but Brian Burns and then Kayvon Thibodeau, he plays the Commanders 2 times a year. Like I said, he turns into Lawrence Taylor when he plays against us. So I won't be surprised if that duo, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau, just because they got to play the Commanders 2 times a year, get 10 sacks off of those 2 games combined. So yeah, man, we'll see. We would definitely see.
I forgot about that aspect.
Yeah. All right, folks. We got a B&E podcast first out here. We got a bonehead off-season move of the week. I'm going to go first. I texted you about this earlier this week. The
Okay.
49ers will be forced to forfeit their fifth-round pick in the 2025 draft. We'll have their 2024 fourth-round pick moved to the end of the fourth round. This is due to a league review that uncovered multiple administrative payroll accounting errors at the close of the 2022 league year, excuse me. So my bonehead all-season move of the week so far goes to the 49ers. Brandon, I see you hinted at yours. Who you got or what team you got?
Yeah, I hinted at it, but it's a curveball. Okay. Trent Blake. He spent time with the Jets, the 49ers, and even the Commanders back in the day around 2001 as a scout. He's now the Jaguars GM. I'm surprised you didn't mention this. He was doing good until March 14th. Okay. That's when he sent a 6th round pick to the Patriots for Mac Jones, as I call him, mac and cheese. I don't care what the compensation was. I'd be pissed if I'm a Jaguars fan. I mean, T Law came in 2 years ago and turned this team around in his second year. They had a little bit of step back last year. He missed the game. That could be the only reason why I can think you bring in uh the I don't even know if I could justify that. Come think about it, I might have just lied right there. Um what the hell were you thinking, Trent? I mean, he had been again, he's like Howie Roseman. He's been solid as a GM, in my opinion, especially with the turnaround from what two years in a row with the number one pick in the draft to went what they won the AFC South or went to the playoffs the year before
Mm,
last, whatever. But Mac, as I call him, Mac and Cheese, his stats have been progressively worse since his rookie season. Some of it wasn't his fault. We all know Bill Belichick. We touched on it several times last season or the year before. Sorry, he had a defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator calling plays on offense, and I think that really set back Mac Jones's career. On top of the fact that he lost his offensive coordinator going from the rookie year to his um, sophomore year, that obviously sets back a quarterback as well. But we talk about a guy with 15 career fumbles. He has a 77 QBR last season. He got benched several times last year. I mean, it was bad for Patriots fans. Like I honestly felt bad for them sometimes just watching him play. Um, there's been memes of him on Facebook when he's got hit in the pocket and he's like his face curled up like a kid getting beat up in school. Like it was brutally bad. Plus he averages double digit interceptions his entire career. On
mm,
top of all this, you have Trevor Lawrence. He's again, I mentioned he's a quarterback that's due up for an extension, him and Tua Tagovailoa down there in Florida. Um, and then we trade for Mac Jones. No, I don't understand it. To me, it's my bonehead off-season move, uh, by far for sure.
QB
Yeah.
depth, quarterback depth. I guess he
I
definitely
mean
gonna
the,
be a
the
start for sure.
the only thing I think that can top this between now and the draft or the season is somebody trade for Zach Wilson. That's the only other thing I think that could
Jaguars,
top.
Jaguars, we do it again.
I know, right? They might go 2 for 2. Oh my goodness. I could not believe that when they said I mean it makes sense for the Patriots and uh Gerard Mayo. I'd want his ass out of there too. But from a Jaguar standpoint, nah, I wouldn't have traded for him. There's plenty of other quarterbacks. I listed a whole uh what a dozen almost that were probably better than he was last season that have new teams. So yeah, make it make sense. I mean, they could have got Tyler Huntley for free.
Mm.
No compensation, just sign him on. Like I don't know. Everybody got their own moves. They do their thing down there. I won't be saying Duval too much if he on the field next year. But yeah, yeah. See, did you get the clowns
Yeah,
meme that I sent
yeah.
over? Yeah. All right, everyone. That's going to do it for this episode of Breaking Into Podcast, the free agency edition. Very wild, man. Like I said, transactions were just coming in left and right. The guys are leaving their teams going to division rivals. But again, we understand it's a business. We only see the outside of it, but it's very, very mind boggling for sure. We appreciate all of our viewers and followers on X and IG. Keep supporting us. We love it all. We'll be back later in this off season to discuss the fallout from the draft. Until next time, love one another.